On March 10, 1873, the city of New Westminster hired its first full-time constable, officially commencing the New Westminster Police Service. Previously, law enforcement was handled by the Royal Engineers under the command of Richard Clement Moody. However, by the 1870s, City Council, spurred by the growth of New Westminster and understanding the existing strain on the Royal Engineers, who were often expected to patrol as far as Hope, decided to hire a constable to work exclusively in the Royal City, under the direction and funding of the Council. Jonathan Mori, a former sapper with the Royal Engineers, was recommended by the Council and hired on. He was paid $30 a month to patrol Columbia Street during the day and had to be available all night if trouble occurred. After his appointment as the sole constable of the young city, Mori would often hire special constables, night watchmen, and downtown and dock area patrollers when he needed support enforcing the law, especially during large events and parades. By 1878, Mori had left his position, with Tompkins Brew taking over responsibilities as chief constable. The next 2 decades saw the completion of the British Columbia Penitentiary and the enlargement of the police force by 1 or 2 full-time constables each year. During this time, there was also a move to professionalize the force, with regular patrols being established in 1891 and formalized badges marking members of the New Westminster Police Department. The chief constable also began to post rules, duties, and regulations to his staff. One set of rules stated constables are to keep rubbish off the streets, horses are to be tied up when not being used, and policemen shall carry batons and nippers, a form of hand restraints, while on duty. Other recommendations include less chatting between officers, less lazing about, and less being seen around houses of prostitution. The force's growth was arrested by the Great Fire of 1898, which devastated New Westminster and led to the loss of many early-era police records. City Council decided to move funds allocated for other city services, including the police department, to the fire department instead. By the early 20th century, the force had established regular uniforms, hierarchies, and patrol routes, and was becoming accustomed to the peaceful day-to-day policing of New Westminster. It was a shock then, when early on the morning of September 15, 1911, the usually quiet city was rocked by one of the most daring bank robberies in North America. 3 to 5 individuals entered the Bank of Montreal on 505 Columbia Street, tied up a janitor, and stole away with over $250,000 in assets, then a record amount for Canada and the United States. The police report from the robbery notes that Special Constable Mulligan found the fumes of powder, the safe wrecked, and a large quantity of gold and bills unaccounted for. A large portion of the money was recovered later, having been tossed under a wooden sidewalk as the robbers fled. Still, not all of the loot was found, and the case was never closed. Perhaps some of the fortune still lies under the streets of New Westminster. During this time, the New Westminster Police Department hired their first police matron, Margaret Patchell, who was appointed in 1913 and served until 1922. Matrons were commonly used by police forces around Canada to fulfill policing duties involving children and women. In an article from the British Columbia newspaper on the appointment of Patchell, her duties were listed as meeting all trains beginning at 7 a.m., making inquiries into the conditions in which females were employed in shops and factories, and being on hand to give assistance and advice to young girls and women. During 1948, police matron Gertrude Dowell dealt with 32 lost children, 65 investigations of family problems, and 27 social welfare cases. By the 1950s, police matrons were an established and integral part of the force, and the position was amended during this time so that prospective hires had to be registered nurses, illustrating the diverse set of duties and responsibilities police matrons undertook. In 1929, the New Westminster Police Department became the first department in Canada to adopt a modus operandi system, a policing method which studied common traits and behaviors of criminal operations to better deter crime and solve cases, highlighting the New Westminster Police Department as forward-thinking and progressive. The force's bravery was notable too, as displayed one dramatic day in 1930 when Constables William Curry and Fred Olson pursued a group of robbers who had cracked several personal and business safes in Langley through Queensborough under a hail of gunfire. The 2 constables were called at the station and asked to monitor the bridge for the fleeing perpetrators. Both were surprised when the culprits knocked out the back window of their getaway car to shoot at them. After a heated gunfight in Queen's Park, the robbers dropped $10,000 of loot before escaping into the brush. Fred Olson explains what happened in his own words.
So we used to have a coffee break at the station. Come off the street, Bill was motorcycle man. and the phone rang, and I think it was from the Surrey police. I forget. It said there's a burglary up here at the post office in Mori, and a carload of books are headed for Vancouver or something like that. Anyhow, coming our way. Okay? So we jumped in the police car, Bill was driving, down to the bridge. That's the old bridge before the Petula Bridge was in. And we parked the car on the side. There was a bit of traffic coming in. We didn't want to blockade it because it was still, in the early evening. So Bill parked it on the side and sat there, and I went out in the road and actually flagged down the cars, looked in, and okay, carry on. Next car. So on and so forth. Along came another car. Saw me, opened the car and headed right for me. Moved me down. I jumped and climbed up the bloody rail. As soon as that car was past, they started shooting at us. Suffering, what kind of lunatics we got here? It was monograph, so I come back the goddamn car around up the driveway up onto Royal Avenue, up by Crescent Place, flattening their tail. And shooting back at us. So as soon as we squared around on Royal Avenue, Bill turned his lights out so they wouldn't have a good target. They were ahead, their lights were on. I got outside and started shooting at them. Oh God, that scared them. And then the police shooting at them.
Curry and Olson were awarded gold medals for valor by the New Westminster Police Commissioners as recognition of their heroic actions.
New Westminster maintains an official police force which sees that crime is kept at a minimum. Members of the force spend many off-duty hours training young boys in the art of boxing, wrestling, and marksmanship.
Throughout the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the New Westminster Police Department continued to demonstrate their forward-thinking and progressive nature. In 1963, Merle Hamilton, previously a matron for the Women's Division at Oklahala Prison, was sworn in as New Westminster's first policewoman. She was one of only 14 female police officers in all of BC at the time. She met and married fellow officer Ed Cadenhead in 1969. Merle served for 12 years and was instrumental in the formation of essential community policing initiatives, such as school outreach programs. Most importantly, she paved the way for women hoping to enter the police force as constables and officers. The 1960s also commenced the employment of a very special type of officer. Service dog Pharaoh worked with constables Eric Griffiths and was the first of many police service dogs used by the New Westminster Police Department. Police dogs' duties included room and building searches, searching for missing individuals, safety backup, and public outreach. In 1964, the New Westminster Police Dog Squad was formally implemented. From 1873 through to today, the New Westminster Police Department continues to display its commitment to the community it serves. In 1981, they introduced the still ongoing Summer Soccer School program, which teaches children aged 5 to 10 athletic skills and sportsmanship, and has over 300 participants each year. In 1993, the Victim Assistance Program began to offer support and resources to victims of crime, and continues to operate today, giving aid to those in crisis. The force is also connected with the community through social media platforms Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and has developed a mobile app which allows citizens to track crime and get alerts. The New Westminster Police Department has always changed and evolved to best serve the members of the municipality it has policed for over a century. In 1998, the force illuminated its rich history and dedicated service during their 125th anniversary, where special guests, former and current police officers came together to celebrate the numerous achievements from the oldest police services in Canada.